And good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Glendale Redevelopment Agency meeting for October 21st, 2008. Can we have the roll call, please?
Agency members Draymond.
Here.
Quintero.
Here.
Weaver. Here. Yusefian.
Here.
And Chairman Najarian.
Here. May we have your report, please?
The agenda for the October 21, 2008 regular meeting of the Glendale Redevelopment Agency was posted on Thursday, October 16, 2008 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. The next item?
Approval of minutes.
So moved. I'll abstain from the minutes of the 23rd.
Okay. Noting that abstention by Mr. Quintero for the 23rd of September. If there are no other objections or corrections, the minutes will be approved as submitted. Next item, please.
At item 5 are oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Members of the agency may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The matter may be referred to staff through the executive director for investigation and report.
Okay, I don't have any cards from anyone wishing to speak. Therefore, I'm going to close oral communications. Next item, please.
At item 6A, Director of Development Services regarding the Alex Regional Theater Art Board quarterly report for period ending June 30, 2008, and final audited year-end financial statement through June 30, 2008, and the revised capital improvement project list. At 6A1 is a motion accepting the quarterly report and final audited year-end financial statement and ordering them filed with the Director of Development Services. At 6A2 is a motion accepting the revised capital improvement projects list, and 6A3 is a resolution authorizing the preparation of specification, bid documents, and authorizing the solicitation of bids to paint the north, south, and east sides of the Alex Theater.
Okay. Do you have a report on this?
If you'd like one.
I would like a brief report. Let us know how we did this year and
brief preparatory comments. In our civil service system, the use of senior to a title really means an accomplished level of responsibility and performance. It doesn't reference age. With that, I'll ask Elena Boboldian to give you the staff report. Senior Administrative Analyst.
Senior.
Good afternoon, Agency Chair Najarian and members of the agency. We're here this afternoon to present the fourth quarter report along with the year-end report for the Alex Theater, present the revised capital improvement project list, and also get your permission to go out to bid for the painting project at the Alex Theater. The fourth quarter proved to be challenging for the Alex Theater from a financial standpoint, which is what we've been seeing throughout the industry. If you would like some details, Barry McComb can go into some of those details with you, but although it was financially difficult for the theater, they were still able to increase attendance at the theater and accomplish some positive things. As far as the audit, I'm happy to report that there were no material weaknesses to report. There was one minor issue which staff caught and dealt with even prior to the audit. During the fourth quarter, the art board transitioned into Glendale Arts, and the current chair, David Simon, and vice chair, Jeanette Sturdivant, are also here and join the staff today in presenting this report. This will be the last quarterly report prepared by the art board. From now on forward, the reports will be prepared and presented by Glendale Arts, the new body which the agency has entered into a lease and management agreement to operate the theater. Moving on to the capital improvement list. This list was initially prepared back in 2006, and it was intended to be a planning document. And therefore, over the last couple of years, we've met with the Alex Theater staff and have revised this list. Some projects have been taken off and some have been added. The main change today is we've grouped some projects together where it made sense to close down the theater over a long period of time to accomplish some large-scale projects. So although we're asking you to approve this revised list, we will come back to you each time for permission for each project prior to implementation. Lastly, the painting project. Back in 2007, we came to you and presented the south side of the theater to be painted. We selected a contractor, and over the last year, we've been trying to work with this contractor, both in terms of scheduling and insurance requirement. Unfortunately, he was unable to meet the city's insurance requirements, and because so much time had passed and the east and north sides of the theater were scheduled to be painted the following year, we've decided to group this together and issue a revised a bid to paint all three sides of the theater, and we think that would save costs because it would require one-time staging of materials and equipment rentals as opposed to 3 different times. And so in summary, there's a fourth quarter report, and if you have specific questions for Barry, he can answer those. The revised capital improvement list, which will come back to you for each project for approval, and the revised painting project.
Okay, thank you very much. I have some questions from Barry. Hi, Barry.
Good afternoon.
So we're down $468,000 this year.
That's if you remove the city's GRA funding that we received, correct?
That's just not acceptable to me. Since we're talking about theater and drama,
Bag of cash, by the way.
Is it? This is a magic wand. Please hold it in your right hand.
Okay. I thought Halloween was next week.
You know what a magic wand is, right?
I do.
So if you wave that magic wand, you can make things better. I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
Tell me how you would make things better.
All
the
right.
result that you would prefer.
Okay.
Attendance. How would you change attendance if that magic wand worked into 2009?
I think the way I would change attendance is, number one, trying to lower ticket prices, and number two, increase our marketing budget.
Okay. How about the number of bookings that the theater has? Are you happy with that, or would you like to see those of a different quality, a greater number, or whatever?
Well, of course, we always want a greater number. Quality is in the eye of the beholder.
You got to shake it.
Waving the wand. I will tell you that we have focused on some new markets that we're getting close to finalizing some bookings with. One is with a promoter who would bring in contemporary national attractions, which is an element that we don't currently have there. We're running into a few issues there, and to be quite honest, because we're part of such a large entertainment market, when artists come to the Los Angeles region, Glendale isn't exactly the first place that they want to come perform at. They prefer to play on Sunset Strip or at the marquee venues on Wilshire Boulevard. However, this particular promoter believes that once he gets 1 or 2 acts into the Alex, and they experience the warmth that the venue brings forward, that he'll break down those biases that he's currently facing.
Okay. How about the presence of a large nearby hotel, a new hotel?
Let me wave this big time.
You would like that. That would be very...
A large nearby hotel would be great, as you've heard me say before, particularly if it has banquet space, because we do lose events on occasion, probably the most significant being the annual Annie Awards, which is the animation awards, because there is not a venue that can accommodate post-event parties without them having to go down the street to a facility like the Hilton. And actually, on a couple of occasions, we've actually had people go out to the Civic Auditorium as well. That is a downside for us in trying to track not only award business like that, but also with company meetings as well.
Okay. How about concessions? Is that an important part, and would you change anything?
We have considered bringing concessions in-house, and we've done some analysis. The biggest issue we have with concessions at the theater is the limited window of opportunity to sell. And at this point, kind of based on our cash flow and other goals that we have set in front of us, we've determined that at least on a temporary basis, we're best served by having concessions remain with an outside
So you don't need to use the wand on that one?
No.
How about our infrastructure, seats, carpeting, AC system? How does that affect you? Is that okay, or do you want to change that?
We actually wave, have a lot of different concerns on a variety of the structural features of the theater, and that's part of what our long-term capital improvement list addresses, upgrading things such as the air conditioning system. We recently went through a energy audit through GWP, which has identified various ways that we can improve the energy efficiency of the building. Some of those are easy fixes, such as replacing a lot of the theater lights with LED fixtures instead, which is probably the first project we'll take on. Others are much more involved, such as putting solar panels on the roof, and we've actually been working with a vendor out of La Cañada who's done some analysis for us. Of course, the cost of putting in a solar system is quite expensive. The original way we would have done that would have been to find a private entity who would have purchased the system and leased it back to us, say at $1 a year, and that entity would have been able to take advantage of the tax credits. Unfortunately, the whole future of tax credits is kind of in question right now with Congress, and if that doesn't get extended, then we're back to the drawing board trying to find another potential way to fund that project.
How about our community's interest in the theater?
Waving the wand again.
A little more?
A little more. One of the things that we've changed really since 2001 when I first arrived is to try to make the theater more accessible for a variety of events. So it's not just a place you necessarily go to for performances. And we've done that by sponsoring a variety of community events, such as the student showcase each year, such as the genocide commemoration. We've opened the theater for more receptions and have installed furniture like in our upstairs lobby areas to make it more amenable for reception business. We've come up with special discounted rates to try to draw those sorts of things. There certainly are certain types of activities that we're not necessarily suited for, but our goal is to really try to make the Alex Theater the center of community activities in Glendale.
How about the city council's interest in the theater? You touch that one, I'm going to whack you.
Well, obviously the
Do you
city...
think we need to show more of an interest? I know Mr. Draymond, Mayor Draymond has been instrumental, but as a whole, what do you think? How would you change our interest if you could?
To be quite honest, I'm not really sure I would, because the 7 years that I've been here, I've always felt strong support from the council on all the different projects we've brought forward, on some of the challenges that we've been faced, to try to solve and hurdles to get over. You obviously took a big leap of faith with us in the formation of Glendale Arts, so I'm not sure there's really much more that I could ask from the council.
Any other questions while he's got the wand in his hand?
The mayor's smiling at me, so I don't know what that means.
My questions are sans wand. So,
okay.
But I'll...
Did I pass the wand test?
You did. I didn't mean to freak you out when I started. I wanted to be dramatic, show the artistic side of me.
Okay.
I'm just happy there was no headgear to go with the wand.
By the way,
Was that it?
You definitely freaked us out. I don't know about him.
I thought we'd be serving that wand for sort of economic discussions, actually. We probably need it when we discuss budget and revenue. We need that wand.
We'll keep it handy.
Make sure the batteries in it are fresh for that.
Question.
That's all right. I'm still thinking.
Mr.
On the issue of the chiller, you're talking about replacing the chiller somewhere down the line. Are you going to keep within the same system that you're using, or have you given any kind of a thought to the system that we use at the sport complex, the Bear system, which basically freezes the water at night, and that helps chill the system?
Actually, I'm going to defer to Jack Alloway of my staff, who's been working on this project, and he can tell you what the recommendations have been.
Okay. Another familiar face.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the agency. The Bear system hasn't come up in any discussions that we've had. We have talked about reversing the airflow. Right now, the air is circulated from the ceiling down to the floor. And since everyone knows hot air rises, It makes much more sense to supply cold air, which is basically all we ever need in the theater because of the heat load of the of the people in the theater. Supply cold air from under the seats and let that rise to the ceiling. It'd be a much more efficient way to supply the air. And also, the other big item on the cooling side would be to have much more control over the chiller so that we can stage it. Right now, it turns on and it runs like crazy. So there are different ways to control those things with stages and the demand. So that's basically the extent of what we look for.
Okay. Not knowing exactly what is it that you have,
It's a 100-ton chilled water.
may want to look at the Bear system.
We will.
It's at the sports complex.
Okay.
It gives you a lot of efficiencies. It may not work at all. I don't know, but
We'll certainly look into that.
yeah, it's operating, it's working.
We're several years away from
Yeah.
actually doing anything
Yeah, I
on
saw
this.
that. It's somewhere down the line. But hoping that there'll be something better coming up by then.
Hope so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Isai?
That's it.
Mr. Quintero?
How about your marketing plan? What are you doing? Are you doing anything different in this economic environment?
Actually, for the months which are slower, we've actually implemented some discount structures to be able to draw events into those time periods. One example of that was the Downtown Merchants film series that took place this summer. They actually took advantage of one of those discounts that was in place. We've had a couple business meetings come to us with some of the midweek discounts that we've implemented. In our original business plan for this year, before the economy kind of struck us, we had actually had in that plan a full-time outside salesperson whose job was going to be not only to be selling a rental of the Alex Theater on the street, but also selling sponsorship packages, advertising and programs for special events and things of that nature. But in trying to keep our budget balanced under the reduction, that's at least temporarily been put on hold, filling that position. We have also, like from a film shoot standpoint, we've, starting just about a year ago, we started advertising in some of the industry publications such as the Creative Directory, and have actually had very positive results come off of those ads.
Well, in terms of a salesperson, so to speak, sometimes that's the trap. When revenues are down, rather than trying to sell more, companies will cut back on marketing and sales.
You've got to spend money to make money.
Right. Any chance, maybe you can try to interview some people that are retired and might want to do this on a part-time basis, that have some type of background. Never know. I think it's worth pursuing, trying to get someone that'll get out there.
We did, for a short period of time this summer, have someone who was working for us on a outside contractor basis, who was a radio salesperson that from Clear Channel, who suddenly found themselves without work. And he actually opened up a few doors for us, but at the same time was also looking for a full-time job. So we only had his focus for a couple of years. Without going into too much detail, we have discussed with some other entities the potential of sharing the position, so that we both, two different entities, would fund it, and we would share the time between the two of us.
I think that's important.
Weaver?
Barry, I don't have any questions for you. I just to make a couple of comments about this, so people are reading about all of this ages from now or next week. We've all been thinking about the economic downturn as though it happened in the last month, and it didn't. This has been coming for a while. It all came home to many people in the last little while. We're looking at our 401ks and how we're invested in the market and what's happening to interest rates and so on. But in terms of business in this city and across the region, business has been sales have been seeing a 25% or more hit for some time now. So it is not, this doesn't surprise me at all, Barry. It's almost to be expected. As a matter of fact, I'd be more surprised if I didn't see this kind of number right about now. So I just don't want anybody to think that this is because a month ago something happened, or there's bad management or unrealistic predictions or forecasting as you do your budget and your planning. It's not. This theater is run in a very efficient and lean way, and has been, I would say, since Barry and Jack and their team came on board, and having some experience with the theater, with that theater, I know that to be true. And you hear it whenever we ask a question. The magic wand aside, as to new areas or new opportunities, the fact is that as the economy has shifted in the last year, people are spending less money on some of the, quote, luxuries, and many of those are to having a night out. We see it in the restaurants, many of them, and businesses that are things people feel they can do without for a while. So instead of going out on the town or out to the theater once every month, maybe it's once a quarter or once every other month. And so, anyway, this is not unique to the Alex Theater, and I just wanted to put that on the record as well. I just want to pick up on one comment that Councilmember Quintero was making about marketing. I think this is the key time, and this will be the key time here and for a while. That is a place where, boy, I would hate to see you pull back or cut back. It's going to be key, and I think it's something that somebody who is very well versed and very aggressive is the kind of person you need, rather than somebody that's going to do it on kind of a part-time or, did this in a previous life kind of an affair. You need somebody current who knows the market and knows regional theater. In any case, I am, as I say, not surprised by this. Frankly, I think when you look at, and Barry, you can probably comment on this, if you look at other regional theaters, just in the state of California, I'd say you're doing pretty well, considering, wouldn't you?
We're actually doing better than a lot, and as we're kind of progressing into our new fiscal year, well, July and August were very difficult months for us. Our September wound up being the strongest September since I've been here. So there are some bright signs that, at least in our business, that things are picking up a little bit.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Weaver.
A follow-up question to you, Barry. May have triggered something in me. What I've heard, a lot of the local restaurants are down like 30% sales and stuff. Compared to other ways of entertainment, if you include food and everything into it, how would you say you've done compared to other entertainment related in the city?
Well, I mean, if you compare us to other theaters in L.A., we still are probably one of the busier facilities that's there, with the exception of, obviously, facilities, in the category of a Nokia,
Yes.
Or a Kodak, where they're actually owned by promoters who are paying to put acts into their own venue. But as far as a theater which is primarily rental-oriented, and that would put us up against venues such as the San Gabriel Civic Auditorium, the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center, Pasadena Civic. It's a little bit larger, but we're doing very well based on what I get from speaking to my peers.
Okay, we have two agency motions and one resolution. Mr. Weaver.
Move 6A, 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
If there's no further discussion, we can lump them together. Let's take roll call, please.
Agency members Draymond.
Yes.
Quintero.
Yes.
Weaver.
Aye.
Yusefian.
Aye.
Chairman Najarian.
Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Yusefian.
before Mr. McComb leaves, can we replace that dead palm tree that's in the forecourt for...
Isn't it replaced?
We're actually, our building committee is in the process of looking at ways to make the forecourt more usable for receptions, particularly during adverse weather and in the colder months of the year. So we've kind of been holding off on replacing that until we know what the master plan is that we want to do. The palm trees are not original fixtures to the forecourt, and we've had to replace them many times over the years at great expense. And we're, going to be looking at, are those truly, features that should be there, or should we look for something else that might...
You may want to cut them down instead of looking...
Right.
Yeah.
like a headless palm tree, just a stick sticking out there. Looks kind of an eyesore.
Okay.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Are there any agency member or staff comments?
Any comments from agency members or staff? I don't see any.
Any new business?
Adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
And the agency is adjourned.